So now let's understand colons. Actually, colons are not used to join independent clauses nearly as often as semicolons. That means semicolons are more often used, right? And but we use them. So the main function of colons is to introduce second clauses that explain or illustrate the material in the first clause. Means that gives the reason why you said those words. For example, I'm worried about their proposal. So why I'm worried? I'm giving you the explanation that they have absolutely no way of reducing their losses if things go bad. So if things go bad and there is no way of reducing their losses, this is a following explanation of my worry point about their proposal. So when this is the kind of situation, you are trying to explain and you are trying to giving the reason why you are thinking that way, so you use colons in that case. Alright, so let's move on using conjunctive adverbs. Now when I said this word, you must have thought, what is this conjunctive adverbs? Now what is this, ma'am? What are you trying to explain? So dear student, don't worry. Conjunctive adverbs are the words like moreover, however, and thus. And you know what do they do? Actually, they work as signpost words, that allow you as a reader to see the connection between ideas contained in two independent clauses that are joined as semicolons or periods. Okay, for example, I want to tell you with the example, the peace negotiation had run into problems. Moreover, public support for the treaty was beginning to slip. So here I'm using moreover to give you a clear idea what happened more than that. Alright, so these are the words which works as signposts. Means if I say for example, for instance, accordingly, as a result, right? If you are not using any coordinating conjunction, you somehow need to connect your ideas together so that reader would understand you better, right? But I want to say something more on conjunctive adverb is that they are not helpful because it implies that these words are conjunctions. Sometimes children mistook them as coordinating conjunction, and this is incorrect. Actually, conjunctive adverbs are adverbs. I'm saying again, conjunctive adverbs are adverbs, they are not conjunction. As such, they have no power to join grammatical units together. Since the term conjunctive adverb is so misleading, some texts actually refer to these words as transitional terms, right? So, however, because conjunctive adverb is much wider use, we retain that term for our understanding also. And the most frequent punctuation error involving conjunctive adverb is the direct result of the name. People sometimes join two independent clauses, with a comma plus a conjunctive adverb in the assumption that it is like a conjunction. So joining two independent clauses with a comma plus a coordinating conjunction is a wrong thing. Suppose in our example, if I use a comma here and I use moreover here and don't put a comma here, it would be considered as a mistake, right? So please be careful about this thing now. Now, the beach was gradually eroding. However, the winter storms have added a fair amount of sand lately. This is an example. And my husband has become a vegetarian, thus we all have been eating lot less meat lately. So now what is the thing called conjunctive adverbs? So I want to present a list of more commonly used conjunctive adverbs, and we have sorted them into four groups according to their meaning. So when you are trying to say in addition, and when you are trying to give an example through your next independent clause, and when you are trying to present a contrast from your another second clause, and you want to show the connection with the first clause, you could use these kind of conjunctive adverbs. And I want to give you example of all of those, some of those, I'm so sorry, from each category. Let's see. So in addition, let's see how you are going to say in addition, presenting the first clause and the second clause. You need to remember that you need to put a comma wherever you are using them after them. So rearrange the meeting time, semicolon. That means you wanted to present a connection between the second sentence. In addition, what you did in addition is we reserved the conference room. I stopped for gas means what you did other than you stopped for gas. Beside, I needed to stretch my legs for a minute. It's not only the reason why means I wanted to get my tank filled with gas, but I wanted to stretch my legs for a minute. So what addition you are making here, you wanted to do one more thing for the reason you stopped for a gas. Okay. Rain is forecast for tomorrow. Furthermore, it may rain all weekend. First sentence, first clause is saying that rain is forecast for tomorrow. And you are adding to that information by using the conjunctive adverb or your transition word. Furthermore, what will happen? You are putting a stress that it may rain all weekend. So now suppose from your second clause you wanted to cite an example of what you said. The movies this summer are not very original. For example, that means you are adding on to the information by giving an example through your next clause. I am stressing a clause, a complete clause. Most of the big studio, which is a subject, releases are sequels. Alright, so you are presenting the second clause as an example. Jatin was pretty upset. How you are telling? In fact, he went home right after the meeting. So you are showing through an example how upset he was. So you use the conjunctive adverb, which is in fact, right? The high cost of gas is affecting car makers. Now you are giving the example by using the conjunctive adverbs, namely, it is forcing them to produce smaller, more fuel efficient models. So the cost of high gas is affecting the car makers. You are trying to give this, you want to prove this through an example. So what are they doing? They are forcing them, that high cost is forcing them to produce smaller, more fuel efficient models. Now you wanted to present a contrast what you said in the first clause. For example, we are going to fly. Instead, we ended up taking the train. So you were thinking to fly, and what happened in contrast is you took the train. Alright? So this is a contrasting situation. You were thinking to fly and you took the train to travel. Remodeling our house turned out to be more expensive than we expected. Right? So you were thinking to remodel your house and it turned out to be more expensive. Fir bhi means nonetheless it was worth every penny. So you are contrasting the situation. Although this happened, you did that. I made money on the investment. Still, I'm not sure the return was worth taking such a big risk. So this is how you present contrast. Please, you need to have a close look at these conjunctive adverbs, because if you remember them, you could, make sentences more wisely. You would not be making mistakes while making the sentences like these. So now if you want to present a result, our old supplier has gone out of business. So what are you going to do as a result? We need to get bids from some other companies also. This is a big storm in the Midwest, right? So consequently, what happened? What happened actually? All flights to Chicago have been cancelled. So consequently, as a result, accordingly, these are the words you use as the conjunctive adverbs to show your result. Our business has increased to 100% this quarter. So what are you going to do? Thus, we need to hire several new employees, right? I want to give you an example from the present situation. Like, we are facing a situation of coronavirus. Thus, Modi has, means our Prime Minister Modi has, announced a lockdown situation. So when I'm going to write this, I'm going to use a semicolon and I'm going to use the conjunctive adverb thus, and I'm going to put a comma here. Understood? Now what is that last part I'm trying to explain, and this is the last part of the video session on conjunction. Could you see that? The distinctive feature of conjunctive adverb is that we can move them around inside their independent clauses. I want to show you 4 examples. Please look them closely first. So, after all, conjunctive adverbs are adverbs and adverbs are movable. If you remember that, we can, if you studied these in your previous classes, that we can put adverbs somewhere before the verb or at the end of the sentence, sometimes before the subject, like in the beginning of a sentence. So these are also movable as they are adverbs. Notice, what you have to notice here is the punctuation, which is going to stay exactly the same no matter where we place the conjunctive adverb. See, the team has had a bad year, consequently, alright, here, from here, this point, we are going to begin a new sentence, but we are going to put, we are putting means our conjunctive adverb, so we are putting a comma after it, and then after we are putting a clause, attendance has been poor. Now look at the second example. The team has had a bad year. Attendance, we are putting a comma, means consequently has been poor. The team has had a bad year. Attendance has consequently been poor. The team has a bad year. Attendance has been poor consequently. So are you noticing that punctuation is going to be staying exactly the same way? But one should remember that we must separate the 2 independent clauses with either a period or a semicolon, and the conjunctive adverb itself set off with the commas from the rest of its clause. Suppose if we are putting here consequently, right here. So here what we are doing, we are going to set off this with the comma. Setting off with comma means we are going to put commas on both the sides, right? 1 comma if it is at the beginning or end of the clause, 2 commas if it is in the middle of the clause, right? See, here in the beginning we have 1 comma, and here in this 4th sentence we are putting 1 comma just before the consequently to separate, to set it off with the rest of the sentence. So I hope I'm clear with the conjunctions, how we frame sentences using coordinating conjunctions, how we frame, how we combine the words and phrases using coordinating conjunction, what problems we face while joining them as words and phrases using coordinating conjunction, what problems we face while we join 2 independent clauses like run-on sentences, comma splice, fuse sentences, and how we can frame the sentences, 2 independent sentences joining coordinating conjunctions as well as semicolons, plus colons, and conjunctive adverbs. So if you face any problem related to this topic, please feel free to ask me through WhatsApp or wherever you want to make a call. Please make a call after 9 o'clock in the evening and before 10 o'clock in the morning. Thank you very much. Bye bye.